Picture this. Florida's population exploded by over 5.5 million in just 2 decades, pushing the state from scattered cities to 92% urbanized, all in a sprawling, nearly unbroken stretch from Miami to Jacksonville. But this isn't just a numbers story. The land itself is transforming, as once separate cities merge into what could soon become one giant, interconnected mega-region. How is Florida turning into one colossal city? And what happens when growth pushes every limit? On the ground in South Florida, the line between city and suburb has all but vanished. Miami's neighborhoods stretch north into Fort Lauderdale and West Palm Beach, forming a single, unbroken urban corridor that houses more than 6 million people. Interstate 95 runs like a concrete spine through this tri-county region, where crossing from one city to the next is marked only by a change in exit numbers, not by any real shift in the landscape. The relentless push west has brought the edge of development flush against the Everglades, with the urban development boundary now acting as the final barrier between suburbia and one of the world's most fragile wetlands. Inside this boundary, only a few thousand acres remain open for new construction, a sliver compared to the vast urban fabric that has already been built. Every year, pressure mounts to open even these last parcels, but the risk of flooding and environmental loss keeps the line fiercely debated. What was once a collection of distinct cities has fused into a single, sprawling metropolis, its growth hemmed in only by the limits of nature and law. Orlando now stands as the fastest-growing large metro in the country, its reach stretching outward in all directions. Suburbs once separated by cattle fields and orange groves are blending into a single, sprawling patchwork. On the drive west toward Tampa, the gaps of open land are shrinking each year. New subdivisions in Polk County rise where farmland stood just months before. Tampa's own footprint fans out across Hillsborough and Pasco, with housing and warehouse clusters stacking up along the I-4 corridor. The result is a continuous flow of development, logistics hubs, and bedroom communities linking two cities that, on paper, remain distinct. For thousands, daily life now means traversing this inland corridor. Jorge Cortez, a health worker, leaves his home near Tampa before dawn, facing nearly 2 hours on the road to reach his job in Osceola County. He spends more time on I-4 each week than with his family, a trade-off driven by pay and housing costs. Supercommuters like Jorge are no longer rare. They're the human thread tying Orlando and Tampa into Florida's new urban heart. Cape Coral on Florida's Gulf Coast stands as a city without a true center. Its gridded streets and canals stretch for miles, lined almost entirely with single-family homes. With more than 230,000 residents, it's grown into one of the largest cities in the state. Yet the feeling is more suburb than metropolis. The neighboring cities of Fort Myers and Naples have seen similar surges, pushing Southwest Florida to the top of national growth rankings. Here, new subdivisions appear almost overnight, filling in wetlands and pine scrub with rows of rooftops and driveways. Farther north, Jacksonville sprawls across a staggering 874 square miles, making it the largest city by land area in the United States. Its expansion isn't just outward. Whole tracts of forest and farmland have been annexed, blurring the line between city and countryside. Yet the pattern isn't uniform. The Panhandle's pine forests and the vast sweep of the Everglades remain largely untouched, reminders that Florida's transformation into a continuous urban region is powerful but not absolute. Highways and rail lines are doing more than just moving people. They are physically knitting Florida's major metros into one continuous region. Interstate 4, once a clear divider between Orlando and Tampa, now acts as a busy corridor lined with new subdivisions, warehouses, and distribution centers. Every day, thousands of commuters and freight trucks flow between the two cities, blurring the old boundaries. But roads aren't the only link. Brightline's high-speed rail already connects Miami to Orlando, with plans underway to raise $400 million for an extension to Tampa. Confidential prospectuses and lobbying filings show regional business groups pushing hard to accelerate construction, betting that a seamless rail connection will tie these cities even closer. If completed, the trip from downtown Orlando to Tampa could take less than an hour, making it possible to live and work anywhere along the corridor. As these infrastructure projects advance, the distance between cities shrinks, not just on the map, but in daily life, turning what were once separate metros into a single, interconnected system. Gridlock now defines daily life in Florida's mega-region. On the I-4 corridor, drivers lose an average of 74 hours a year to traffic delays, according to the latest INRIX Global Traffic Scorecard. Miami has climbed to third place nationally for congestion, surpassing New York and San Francisco, a leap of 9 spots in just 4 years. For commuters, the promise of new lanes and wider highways has faded quickly. The $2.3 billion South I-4 Ultimate project, completed with fanfare, became functionally obsolete almost as soon as it opened. A memo from FDOT engineer John Stewart, circulated in August 2023, warned that the corridor would be over capacity by the time construction wrapped up. He wrote, "Annual traffic growth now averages 3.2%, double the baseline. The design assumptions are already obsolete." As soon as the last cones were cleared, congestion returned to pre-construction levels. Every expansion is outpaced by the relentless surge of new residents and cars, trapping the region in a cycle of delay and frustration that no amount of concrete seems able to break. In Miami, the price of a typical home has skyrocketed from $180,000 in 2012 to more than $550,000 by 2022. The pandemic years brought a surge unlike anything seen before, with median home prices across South Florida jumping over 50% in just 2 years. For many families, the dream of home ownership has slipped out of reach. Buyers now routinely spend a third to half their income on housing. Renters face even tighter margins, squeezed by rising costs and stagnant wages. The bidding wars and cash offers aren't just coming from locals. Large investment firms have swept into the market, snapping up properties in bulk and driving prices even higher. In Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties, double-digit price increases became the norm between 2020 and 2021. Even as the market cools slightly, the relief is modest. The spike has left lasting scars, with many forced to move farther out, double up with family, or abandon the idea of buying altogether. The pace of change has outstripped paychecks, reshaping who can afford to call Florida home. Florida's rapid growth has come at a steep environmental cost. Since the 1950s, millions of acres of wetlands and farmland have vanished beneath new roads and subdivisions. Every day, another 1,000 people move in, stretching water supplies and pushing utilities to their limits. In South Florida, the advancing line of saltwater has forced cities like Miami Beach to abandon drinking water wells as the Biscayne Aquifer grows more saline. USGS maps show the saltwater front creeping inland at rates of up to 40 feet a year, threatening the water supply for millions. Meanwhile, hurricane evacuation plans are strained to the breaking point. Recent studies warn that existing shelters and roads could leave tens of thousands stranded if a major storm hits. The land itself is pushing back, reminding Florida that its growth has hard physical limits. In 1950, Florida's population stood at just 2.7 million, smaller than Kentucky or Alabama at the time. For families like the Alvarezes, life revolved around the rhythms of farming and small towns. Pepe Alvarez grew up tending tomatoes on his family's 500-acre spread in Osceola County, land his grandfather cleared by hand. Everything changed when buyers came calling in the early 2010s. The offer for his farm was more than his family could ever make from another season's harvest. By 2013, the Alvarez fields were sold, soon to be covered by new homes and roads. For Pepe, the sale meant security, but also the end of a way of life that had lasted for generations. No one can say for certain how long Florida's growth can keep outpacing its limits. Will water, land, and infrastructure hold out as millions more arrive? Can the state adapt to rising seas and shrinking open space, or is the current model already pushing past the point of return? The answers remain as unsettled as the land itself. In 2022 alone, Florida gained over 400,000 new residents, more than any other state. Over 92% of its population now lives in urbanized areas, and satellite images confirm the near-continuous spread of development from Miami to Jacksonville. Decades of interstate construction, high-speed rail expansion, and relentless housing demand have fused once distinct cities into sprawling mega-regions. Yet with millions of acres of wetlands and farmland lost since the 1950s, and daily infrastructure struggling to keep up with 1,000 new arrivals every day, Florida faces mounting questions about water supply, flooding, and evacuation capacity. While in-migration and urban growth have transformed the state into a national powerhouse, the long-term sustainability of this model remains unclear. As documented by the U.S. Census and federal infrastructure reports, Florida stands at a crossroads. Its megacity future is already here, but whether it can endure the pressures of growth is a question only time and the evidence will answer.